All right, so ants are adapted to living groups where individuals cooperate with each other in order to survive and reproduce. And to show you their propensity for group living, I thought it would be fun to compare what happens if you put a bunch of female fruit flies, or a mostly solitary organism, into an arena. And it's a bit unfair to the fruit flies because in different conditions they would display a few more social behaviors, but the takeaway message is nothing much happens. On the other hand, if you put the same number of female ant workers, this will get together, form a group, and if this video ran for longer, you would see they would start organizing themselves in a well-functioning society where they cooperate for the survival of the colony. Now, the evolution of complex social behavior during the evolutionary history of ants has relied on them forming stable groups in the first place, but perhaps surprisingly, we don't really know how they decide to form groups. For example, which sensory information did they use here for finding each other and when deciding that these are the individuals that they should be sticking with. And so I'm interested in trying to understand what are the sensory mechanisms that underlie group formation in ants, with the bigger, longer-term question that I would like to address is what in an ant brain makes her want to live in groups instead of living alone. And so in the last couple of years, I've been using a combination of behavioral assays and chemical analysis to study the sensory cues that can induce group formation in ants. And I found that group formation is an odor-guided mechanism, and the cuticular hydrocarbons are important players in this. These are long-chain hydrocarbons that coat the skin or the cuticle of the ants and prevent them from desiccating, but they can evolve important functions in chemical communications as ants are able to smell them with their antennae. And so, for example, I can plate some of these chemicals in an arena where I release an individual ant. And you can see from this heat map that the ant will spend most of their time on top of the cuticular hydrocarbons as if thinking that there's another group of ants right there. We have collaborated with chemists, and we have managed to reproduce some of these responses by using just synthetic compounds. And then just to show you that they are really attracted to these compounds, I can plate a lot of these in an arena in the form of a letter, and you will see that the ants will track it, which is actually a cutting-edge technique to figure out what the ants are thinking. But okay, so really human frontiers. And then finally, the idea is to try to understand how this all goes down in the ant brain, where we have managed to put an ant on a air-supported ball, where she can behave relatively naturalistically, and she can move her antennae to smell things around, while we image what's happening in her brain with a genetically encoded calcium indicator, where basically when a neuron gets active, it emits a fluorescent signal. And so we can start to try to understand how these social cues are processed in the ant brain, and hopefully understand a bit better what in their brain makes them wired for social life. And so if you're interested in ants, poster 37. Thanks.